Alrighty, guys. Is everyone ready there? Okay. Great to see all of you guys. Let me just see whether I have my setup correctly. And please let me know if you can hear me well. That's always and usually the most important thing, I think. Let me just move around and see whether the setup is okay. Please just write in the comments below if you can hear me already. That'd be very, very useful and helpful. And in the meanwhile, I'm trying to get my cable sorted here. So we are ready to stay live because I want to discuss a few important things with you guys today. Mainly, so if you could just let me know, really just here in the chat quickly, write to me whether you can hear me well. That would be much appreciated because I'm not always... Jose Manuel, can you hear me? ¿Me escuchas? Hi. Just let me know if you can hear me well. That'd be amazing. And then we can start the live Q&A. And I also have a couple of topics that I want to discuss with you guys because it's been coming up a lot in the community the last few weeks and months. So there's something that I want to discuss with you guys, and that is the topic of anxiety and how tinnitus and anxiety are very, very closely interlinked, how they keep the loop spinning, and how it is very difficult to, of course, get out of that loop. But I'm going to give you some suggestions later in the stream. But please, just quickly, Jose Manuel, me escuchas? Me avisas, porfa? Or if anyone can just write down in the chat quickly if you can hear me properly. That's obviously the most important thing, that you guys can hear me well. I think it should work, but I always want to make sure that the technology works on the other end as well. And YouTube gives me not really the opportunity to see whether my microphone input is really arriving. So if you could just write in the chat quickly that you can hear me, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm doing all of it in vain. Yeah, thank you for that. Also, the other thing, of course, is I already told you guys that this week I won't be able to release a video because I'm doing this live stream. So I've tried to do a lot of my editing work. And one momento, please, he says. Yeah, I hope that you guys can hear me. Yeah, yeah, okay. Great. I hope that you can hear me. I know that the editing work takes a lot of time. You guys know that as a YouTuber, editing takes up a huge chunk of your time in the week. And therefore, I thought, you know what? Let me just do a live Q&A with you guys and get into the topic of tinnitus anxiety. And of course, all the time, when you have a question today, you can simply drop it below in the chat, and I will try to answer as many questions as possible in the next 20 to 25 minutes. I have gotten some questions from the Q&A section on the channel already. So if you go to the community page on the channel, you will see that I've also got a bunch of questions that are linked there that you can check out as well. Right, let's get into the very, very, very important topic of tinnitus and anxiety and how those two influence each other. So what we need to understand is that tinnitus obviously is an audiological symptom, right? So it is a problem of the mechanism between our inner ear and our brain's perception of sound, right? And the big idea here is that, in fact, it's not really anything wrong with you. It's a misguided signal, right? So the older we get, the more we lose these inner hair cells from the inner ear. They basically can't move properly anymore. And usually how sound gets interpreted by the ear and the brain is sound pressure arrives at the eardrum vibrates, right? So a little drum vibrates like a drum, boom. And then the sound is transmitted through these inner hair cells, and these hair cells move, and therefore the cochlea, which is the hearing nerve, is stimulated by the movement, right? The more of these hair cells actually stop working, then we actually start having a problem. Why? Because they're not stimulating in the certain areas anymore, and therefore we lose hearing ability. And the problem here is in tinnitus is that when we don't have an absence of stimulation, our brain still might think that there is some stimulation happening because other stimulation is happening. So other sounds are actually coming in. So it says like, maybe there should be something in this frequency as well. So the very, very important thing is that you need to know that this is a mechanism where the translation from the physical sound pressure into an electrical signal is something that then stops working correctly, or as it usually is supposed to when we are born, right? And then the problem that develops from that is that our brain interprets a phantom sound. You might have heard of people losing an arm or a leg, and then they're having phantom pains in the arm or legs. And with tinnitus, it's very similar. So the brain generates a sound in the absence of the full input that it needs for hearing well. Jose Manuel, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Muy amable de tu parte. Thanks very much, Jose Manuel. It's very, very nice of you to say that you think I'm the best channel on tinnitus. I really appreciate it. And let's go in and what actually happens then. So we hear a sound because of a loss of input in the inner ear. Dankeschön. Sehr schön, dass du auch Deutsch sprechen kannst. Danke sehr. Danke. And then the loss of the input generates this phantom sound, right? So that's where we're at. And then, of course, when we've had silence all our life around, right, then it's very difficult to accept that there now is an additional sound. But this is where things get interesting and complicated. At the face of it, we're only dealing with an internal sound that has no external source, right? That's tinnitus. I just explained the mechanism of how it works and why do we perceive and hear tinnitus. And again, if you have any questions in the meantime, drop them below in the chat. And for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can. What then is the problem? So of course, perceive some things not right with our ear. We hear a sound that shouldn't be there usually. And then what happens? We go to the ENT, we go to the doctor, we start Googling. And then, of course, in the internet, or unfortunately, many doctors also have a little bit of bad response to tinnitus patients, say there's nothing we can do, or on the internet, you hear these terrible horror stories from other people who've been suffering dearly, which is, of course, very real. But the problem is that we are immediately prone towards reacting with anxiety. Why? Well, because in the year 2025, when I go to the doctor and the doctor says there's nothing I can do for you, we feel absolutely powerless. And it's obviously also not true that there's nothing we can do with tinnitus. That's apart from that, right? There's a lot we can do, because we need to understand, why does it actually become bothersome tinnitus? Why does it become a problem in the first place? Why do we get so much anxiety about tinnitus, right? Because in the end, it is a normal response that 20 to 30%, unfortunately, of the adult population, in response to ever more sound stimulation, having headphones all the time, being engaged all the time, listening to stuff all the time, and that obviously is a huge strain on our hearing ability as well. And understanding that that's the base of it, that's just a basic normal reflex and response of the brain to a missing input. Right? And then we have a second question, which is the anxiety that starts when we go to the ENT and the doctors or the audiologist, and they say to us, there's nothing we can do. Basically, you should just not stress out about it. And then you're maybe Googling or watching some stories on the internet. And then in the internet, of course, is never a good place to research conditions, and especially not for tinnitus, because then you have so many different people that will tell you all these horror stories, and that in and of itself will leave you into this anxiety train, right? Saying like, if they all feel like that, I'm probably going to feel like this as well, or even worse, and I don't know how to handle this. And then therefore, tinnitus is largely an anxiety-based condition, right? So yes, tinnitus is a symptom in the absence of input for many people, right? There's also other reasons, right? The absence of input is mainly hearing loss. And in most cases, people have some degree of hearing loss, even if the audiologist or the ENT says you don't have any significant hearing loss, doesn't mean you have no hearing loss, because usually it's only tested up to 8 kilohertz, and we can have hearing loss. Normal, we have hearing when we're born up to nearly 20 kilohertz, dog whistle, and when you're young, you can still hear that. And the older we get, the more we lose our hearing ability, which is a completely natural process. And in some people, as response to that hearing loss, to that absence of sound, like I've talked about, we lose our ability of hearing, and then therefore have tinnitus onset. This is the one thing, again, the tinnitus onset, the onset of a symptom that no one else can hear, but that's just in your own ear or brain, because tinnitus actually happens in the brain, not in the ears. And it's very important that we realize that the most important part is then understanding not only, yes, of course, how later on to treat hearing loss and tinnitus itself, right? Maybe with we've done extensive work, and last week I talked a lot about potential cures and approaches to cures with, for example, hearing stem cell regeneration. Is very, very important to say, like, okay, I can maybe, recover that hearing, and that will also improve on the absence of signal, right? And when I recover hearing and I get more signals in again, that will also be beneficial for my tinnitus, but it might not completely eradicate it. And just another anecdote, I've seen people with, and I've shared this in my community with the people all the time, I've seen people with very mild tinnitus having very huge and major reactions to it. So it's very important to know that tinnitus largely is an anxiety condition. And what can we do with anxiety condition? Well, a whole lot. Because if you've been through anxiety or conditions or phases in your life where something truly and deeply matters to you, and you really have a difficulty with something, and you're coming across as very bothersome, then of course, because it is anxiety provoking, you try to get rid of that thing that provokes your anxiety. That's only like a absolutely normal response to something that's going wrong in your life, right? With tinnitus, though, we get trapped in this anxiety loop because we try everything. And Jack, I'm going to come back to your question in a minute. I just want to finish this quickly. And then we get stuck in this anxiety loop, and this anxiety loop then perpetuates itself and becomes pegged to tinnitus. So because we hear and experience tinnitus, we know that anxiety is there. And because anxiety is there, we know that we are suffering from tinnitus. And that loop affects many areas, right? Jack, you mentioned it. Sleep, people are affected from sleep, concentration, being able to pursue the things in life that you really want to do. Of course, all of these things become influenced. And then the default mode is saying, well, only if this gets better will I be able to have my life back, and will I be able to feel better. And that's a very big misconception, because what we need to be doing in order to get better with the anxiety and the tinnitus and the conditioning that we experience towards tinnitus in this way is we do not need to do less and try to control tinnitus from all sides in order to get better at living. But it's even more important that we remember and remind ourselves that we can do everything that matters in our life, despite the presence of tinnitus and negative thoughts and feelings about it. Why? Because when we can see that life is still, pretty much the same as before, only that you have now a symptom noise, and I'm the best example. You guys know that I'm deaf in this ear and having this hearing aid and severe high-pitched tinnitus for 16 years now, is not an easy thing on the face of it. But I live with tinnitus absolutely well, and I don't have any problems. I'm habituated. I don't have bothersome tinnitus anymore, right? So it's very, very important that we have an opportunity to understand that this anxiety-based condition is the most important thing that we need to work on when it comes to tinnitus, and not sort of like anything else on the hearing side, which, yes, in future, or of course, if you do have some hearing loss that comes up more frequently, or that your audiologist or ENT says is treatable, then by all means go treat that, because it will benefit your tinnitus. But largely, what we need to tackle is this conditioned response to tinnitus, one of anxiety and one of feeling like you can't live your life with the tinnitus sound and the way you were living your life before. And let me just go into Jack's question. How does your sleep affect your tinnitus? Obviously, when I started dealing with tinnitus and when it got worse, my sleep was quite affected, absolutely. Especially like, falling asleep and then maybe getting up in the middle of the night and having difficulty falling back asleep. That's obviously something that was not easy for me at that time. But now, for, let's say, 10, 12 years, I don't have sleeping trouble because of tinnitus. I've had a rough patch with insomnia, but that's more because of lifestyle choices and running a business as a solo entrepreneur and trying to make ends meet and managing stuff. And luckily, that's all behind me now. But there was a point where I really suffered from that, and I have recommended before, and I've interviewed him also on this channel, Dr. Guy Meadows, a fantastic ACT specialist for sleep. And since I've implemented that ACT program also into our community, but also from him for my sleep, it's been dramatically improving. And I just want to tell you that, of course, with sleep, it's very important that two factors are playing a role here. First of all, having your tinnitus, right? You can't sleep because of your tinnitus, and then maybe you can't fall asleep because of your tinnitus, or you're laying awake because of your tinnitus, and then eventually you get upset about lying awake, and then the tinnitus doesn't even bother you anymore, but you get upset about the fact that you're still awake. And you need to know that both of these things actually stimulate your sympathetic nervous system, so the nervous system that's making you ready for action, which then eliminates melatonin from your bloodstream, because survival is more important than sleep. That's at least what your brain thinks and what we are geared for as human beings, right? It's more important for us to survive than to be able to sleep. So what I can recommend is check out here on my channel the sleep. I've got a playlist on sleep. There's the interview, the short version of the interview with Dr. Guy Meadows, and we have a designated section inside the community as well that is dedicated only for sleep. We did a workshop, I think, was it at the start of this year? I think at the start of this year, we did a couple of workshops on tinnitus and sleep, and those recordings, each like an hour and a half, they're also still inside the program. And so to round off and finish the talk about the anxiety, and let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, mirtazapine is a very common sleep-inducing drug that I've heard many people take. Melatonin as well. Very good that you're getting cognitive behavior therapy. We have the addition and the advanced ACT technique inside the club program. And recently, I've also put subtitles to all major languages such as German, French, Spanish, etc. I think a couple more, Dutch and Turkish and stuff, so that people from all over the world can technically take the course and then watch the videos in the 12 weeks course, and also watch it with subtitles, so it becomes a little bit easier to and more accessible for everyone from other countries who are maybe not mainly English speaking. So neither am I, but I mainly do my work in English. All right, just to close that round. So what do we do in order to break that conditioning with tinnitus and anxiety, in order to round this up? And if you do have a couple more questions, then let me know down there in the channel, because in 5 to 10 minutes, I'm gonna leave to a friend over, and we're gonna watch the sprint qualifying, Formula One sprint qualifying. It's a very exciting spot this weekend, so I'm gonna go over there and going to check that out at his place. So if you do have some more questions, please drop them below in the chat now. Otherwise, I'm gonna go talk a little bit about how to recondition and change that anxiety tinnitus relationship in order to get ahead in your tinnitus journey and not feeling like you're constantly stuck with where you are. And I believe there's two major and main elements to this. One is to, first of all, recognize that it's not the sound that is your difficulty, but your thoughts and feelings. And many people will say, yeah, but how can I not feel bad when something this intrusive or bad is screaming at me the whole time? And I say to you, fair enough, but your brain learns to tune out other sounds as well. Imagine you move to a new place and there's a motorway close by, or a train station, and it's always going on, right? And first few nights you can't sleep, and then eventually you learn to sleep despite the noise. And the first night in there, you think like, I'll never sleep again. And this is similar, right? Only that, of course, this constant fight or flight anxiety loop keeps us in there. But the first thing that we need to realize is that it's not actually the sound that creates our biggest difficulty, but the way we respond to the sound. And if we can change our reaction to that sound, we can cultivate a lot more of these moments in which we actually don't even hear the tinnitus and don't perceive it. And then our nervous system learns that tinnitus doesn't have to be such a threat. This is the first thing, right? So learning and realizing that tinnitus is mainly a thought and emotional condition, an anxiety-based condition, and not really something that you need to get rid of in order to have an absolutely normal quality of life. And I know that this is difficult, but this is the one where most people get stuck and say like, oh yeah, but with this tinnitus, my life is terrible, it's over. Yeah, that's a thought that causes an emotion, right? And you say like, okay, yeah, that makes me angry or sad. Those are emotions. The other one is a thought. It's just noise in your head, right? Something that you're telling yourself, a story that you're telling yourself that may or may not be true. Because I mean, you can tell yourself like, right now I'm going to go outside for a swim on a beach in Thailand. Yeah, but I'm sitting here in my room and doing the live stream here in Berlin and not in Thailand. And it's really important to realize that first part. And the second part is to work on habits that actually allow your brain to, make this shift on a constant basis, that it's an anxiety and thought and fear-based and emotional condition, rather than the problem of tinnitus itself. I know that most of you guys, most of the people out there are not ready to hear this, and it's absolutely okay. You might come back in a couple of months or years, but for most people, this is where the breakthrough comes. Understanding, first of all, that tinnitus is an anxiety-based condition. Most of the time, you are dealing with thoughts and feelings that are difficult for you, and not only the tinnitus, and then learning to create habits that allow the tinnitus to go into the background, because you are not constantly focusing on it anymore, because you are okay with integrating these thoughts and feelings. Gianluca Margarita, I would like to join your club, but I'm afraid my English is not fluent sufficiently. That shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, most of the videos, for example, inside the club, we also provide them in, let me see, maybe I can share it with you guys. So once you are in here and you watch the first couple of videos, you can see that in every video that we have here, for example, we also have subtitles. Let me see where maybe this one loads quicker. And you will see subtitles, Turkish, English, French, English, and I'm going to, and I've recently working on adding Italian and many other European languages. And that shouldn't be a problem. And if you can write this in English, what you wrote, then we should be perfectly fine. Yeah. And what you can see here, of course, we have the 12 weeks course. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, I'm part of the club and it's been life-saving. Thank you. That's so nice. Thank you for saying that. Glad it's so helpful. And you can see we have a full 12-week course in here that you go through little by little. We have the events that come with a group coaching every week. Last night we had accountability check-in, was very fun. And we have the success story space, we have the chit chat, we have the buddy space, we have monthly topic resources. As I said, we also had Tinnitus and Sleep recently, and you can watch, of course, all these recordings here and go into all the coursework. And I think it's just a fantastic program that we have designed with all of you together, because every single one that's in here is really important for our program. Right. Yeah, Gianluca, feel free to join whenever you want to. We are here. We are here for you and supporting you. And yes, Jose Manuel, it's you can also watch everything a little bit more slow, of course. Yeah, that's it. Alrighty. I hope this has been a useful replacement for my Friday evening videos. I have edited one and it's going to release next week, Friday. But for this week, I've had a lot of stuff to do. Last week was my birthday. So happy birthday to me still, 35, great. But there was a lot of stuff going on, and I was working on, doing some new additions and some new things inside the 12 weeks course over the last few weeks, finishing up the buddy space and everything in the club. So we've had a lot of stuff going on, and I haven't been able to work as diligently on my YouTube game. But I'll promise you guys, from next week onwards, we're going to have those episodes out again. So a weekly YouTube video, and then also, of course, if you guys are interested in finding more stuff, then let me just leave the link for you guys there. linktree.outing tinnitus. All right. Okay, Manuel, I'm really glad you're obviously able and allowed to make advertisement for your own book. I've also written a book, and it's very nice, but I think it's enough if you do it once or twice. Continuously advertising your book here is my live stream. You could do your own live stream, my friend, but it's perfectly fine. So please, if you want to, let us know what the book is called, and then people can check it out if they want to. I don't have a problem with that. I actually think the more people are in the space and the more people help people, the better it is. I fully agree with that. But yeah, let's be respectful at the same time. I think is an important value for everyone. All right. I hope this was a useful one for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have questions, the ones who are in the community, of course, you know where to find me, where to drop me a message. You can find all of my other links here for the free mini course that we have, or also for the community. I hope that it's been a useful one for you, also for those watching the replay over the weekend now. And next week, we're coming back with a new video, fully edited from your tinnitus coach, Frida. So I'm wishing you all a fantastic weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you very, very soon back here on the channel. If you missed part of this live stream, again, it's going to be out just in a little bit. It's going to be releasing here on the YouTube channel, and you can watch the replay. All right, guys, enjoy and have a good weekend, everyone. Okay, bye-bye. Bye, guys.